Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Dee again, and welcome to the Interstate with Dee. Today is Saturday, January 11th, 2025. Welcome back to our trip on the Interstate. What we do here is present news from the state level that will end up having national importance later, or news that made it into the national news cycle but was overshadowed. Then we go over some questions from y'all. On this date, January 11th, in 1908, President Theodore Roosevelt designated a national monument in Arizona, the Grand Canyon. The national park opened later in 1919. Okay, and on to the news. In Alaska, the Department of Interior's period for companies to bid on drilling leases in the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge ended. Biden was forced to open the area to bidding due to a 2017 ERA law. Not a single company bid. Apparently, even oil companies know it isn't a good idea. In Georgia, District Attorney Willis is asking the state Supreme Court to return her to the case against Trump. A study in Hawaii indicated that roughly 1 in 5 students in K through 12 are not up to date on vaccinations. Idaho Republicans are pushing a resolution that would ask the United States Supreme Court to reconsider a landmark case that granted the right to same-sex marriage. An Indiana state senator has proposed a piece of legislation that would make it a crime to possess or prescribe an abortion-inducing drug. Period. There are reportedly no exemptions to this. Kentucky is set to get $110 million in a settlement with Kroger over the opioid crisis. In Louisiana, the state Supreme Court ruled that the governor can order cops to clear homeless encampments. Back in June, the governor vetoed money approved by lawmakers for emergency homeless shelter operations. In other Louisiana news, a 65-year-old man reportedly died from hypothermia. Missouri ATF agents are assisting authorities in Puerto Rico investigate a hotel fire. There will be more developments on this, probably by the time this video goes out. But this one definitely looks like it'll make national news. In Montana, the federal government has denied the state's petition to remove grizzly bear protections under the Endangered Species Act. In New York, RFK Jr. had a watchdog group alleged he committed voter fraud. The complaint was filed with the New York State Board of Elections, asked the agency to investigate Kennedy for voting from an address the group says he doesn't live at. This comes at a pretty bad time for Kennedy, as he has been nominated to head up Health and Human Services. In North Carolina, a man best known for storming a pizza place in D.C. back in 2016 was killed by law enforcement. In 2016, believing he would be rescuing children after falling for a baseless conspiracy theory, he stormed into the pizza place while armed. He fired his weapon, but after realizing there were no children there, he peacefully surrendered. He was later sentenced to prison by a judge named Brown Jackson. Yes, now Supreme Court Justice Brown Jackson. Last weekend, however, he was in a vehicle that was pulled over by cops in North Carolina. According to reports, as they approached, he stepped out of the vehicle with a gun. He was reportedly ordered to put the weapon down, and when he didn't, the cops opened fire. A bill in North Dakota would mandate the 10 Commandments be in public school classrooms. Ohio's governor signed a number of laws into effect, including one that requires schools to contact a student's parents if they identify as LGBTQ+. How long do you think it'll be before this gets a student hurt, or misidentifies a student, and causes a lawsuit? Utah ski patrollers returned to work after a strike. They voted to accept a new contract after a 2-week strike that included a higher base wage and raises for senior ski patrollers. In West Virginia, 2 workers at a state-run hospital were reportedly charged with felony neglect of an incapacitated adult by a caregiver, resulting in the incapacitated adult's death. The state is alleging they left a nonverbal patient in a scalding bath for about 40 minutes. In Wyoming, legislation dubbed the Make Carbon Dioxide Great Again law seeks to roll back environmental protections. And here's your weird state fact for this week. The Grand Canyon is larger than the state of Rhode Island. Okay, so moving on to the question and answer portion of the show. Question number 1. I'm sending this question to everybody on the team. What black swan events do you see possible in 2025? Everybody else answered this one, so I feel obligated to. If you've missed Dana and Belle talking about this, a black swan event is something that is supposed to be unpredictable based on previous information, or something where the outlier event is what happens. I'm not sure if the only thing I think I see that others may not really qualify as a black swan event. It's pretty obvious that there are going to be a lot of legal battles between the states and the federal government. A lot of those are going to go to the Supreme Court. I'm not as sure as everybody else seems to be that the Supreme Court is totally in Trump's corner. I think we'll see some surprise decisions. The only other one I see is people not really understanding how all these proposed budget cuts affects things far away from DC. I think there could be some surprised FAFO moments for politicians. A representative from State A votes to cut the budget of Government Agency Y. Well, Government Agency Y gets all of their widgets from some small town in State A. And without that business, the small town descends into poverty. Then that politician pays the price at the polls. Question number 2. I think I speak for everybody when I say this. We'd be okay with less items if each had a little bit more context. Want to give it a try? So, I did in this episode with a few of the items. Let me know if you'd prefer it this way. Okay, that looks like it. We'll see you next week for another trip. Y'all have a good day.